alien spacecraft did not crash in Roswell, New Mexico in 1947.
You know flat earthers, I guarantee it. But you don't know who they are because they're afraid of talking about it.
This is not a test. This is your emergency broadcast system.
Hello and welcome to the 15th annual Subliminal Deception Podcast, your weekly dose of conspiracy theory bullshit. My name is Cody, and I'm joined by my pal Phil. How are you?
Doing great, Cody. How about yourself?
I'm doing good. Obviously, you live very far from where I do, but Minnesota is experiencing a heat wave right now. Man, it was like almost 90 today, but with humidity, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it, like, the rest of the week's like keeps going up and up and up and up. I actually mowed the lawn before this recording. I had a good amount of sweat going on.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. I'm sure it'd be worse in Arizona, but, like, what's the temp there?
It's like probably 103 right now, but
Okay.
it's dry. So last Saturday it was actually a little cloudy, so it got down below 100.
Okay.
I think during the day. So that was kind of nice. It was like 98 probably. So
Does anybody have to mow the lawn there?
yeah, so there are people who dump like swimming pools a week of water on their lawn
Oh,
to keep it green.
yeah.
So there are people who mow the lawn. You have to mow it at night pretty much, because if you mow it during the day, it's going to just roast. Like, so everyone mows their lawn kind of at night on the weekends. So, but if it does, that's the weird thing about grass here. If it does rain, like all of a sudden you'll see someone's yard struggling. It rains one night. The next day, their yard is just like shot up. Like that grass is so fucking thirsty.
Yeah. I remember when I was there, it's just like a lot of rocks everywhere. You know?
Yeah, most normal fucking peasants like myself just have rocks in their yards. So
You know, I obviously haven't been everywhere around the country, but the driest place I've ever been that shouldn't have been was Seattle. When I was there, it was like fucking brown and yellow. Everything was dead.
might have been the season you were there. Was that?
It could be. I mean, it was the middle of summer. It was just so weird. Like, everything was dead. I don't know. I thought they were supposed to be like the rain capital of the United States.
Yeah, I don't know. That's kind of weird. I'm pretty sure the driest, hottest place it seemed hotter because I hadn't lived here yet, but was San Antonio. I actually left there right around when it was starting to go from spring to summer. You would walk outside and it'd just feel like an oven door opened up in your face. So
San Antonio is worse than Arizona.
Well, no, at the time, because you got to imagine, I had come straight from Minnesota in the wintertime, and then I went to San Antonio. 2 months later, it was hot as fuck. So
Is San Antonio kind of trashy?
by the base is really trashy. By Lackland Air Force Base, but that's pretty much any Air Force bases. They're gonna put it in the cheap part of town, but no, they have the Riverwalk there. They have the Alamo. They have nice houses. It's just like anywhere else. But
Wait, did you actually go see the Alamo?
yeah, I did.
Really?
It was all right. It's a building.
Is that basically all it is? Just a fucking building?
Well, it's got like it's kind of like a museum building. It's not as big as you think it is, and no, there's no basement. So I was a little disappointed.
Wait,
asked.
Is that like a conspiracy theory or what?
No, that's a Pee Wee Herman movie.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
I
snuck it in there.
I haven't seen any of his movies in so long. It's like all that's in my mind is him jerking off in a theater. That's like the only thing I can think of when I hear his name.
Yeah, I don't think he ever made that movie into a movie, but yeah. No, that's whenever I hear about Pee Wee Herman or like see a picture of him, that's the first thing I think of is like his downfall. Not how great his show was or his movies. Immediately just think of jerking off in the you know what I mean? Like his worst moment in his life. That's what he's known for. That's the worst thing.
Okay, he was in Mystery Men, right? Do you remember that movie?
Yes, I do.
Was he
I
in
just
that?
watched it a couple weeks ago. Yes, he was.
He was, okay. God, you know what? I know it's I don't know. Would you consider that like a little kid's movie?
That was... It had like... It's one of those movies where they make it for kids, but it has things for adults too. Yeah, he was the disgusting one. He was the one with all the like... The zits and shit.
Oh, the farting guy.
Yeah, the farting guy. Yeah, that was him.
I feel like that's kind of an underrated movie. I kind of like that.
It was. Ben Stiller was great in that movie. He was the guy who would... The rage guy.
Yeah, he got super angry and then just like nothing happened.
He would just get angry and then like everyone else would kick people's asses while he was getting angry. The shoveler was the only one who was like, and the chick with the bowling ball.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
The shoveler was the one who actually kicked people's asses. But
who was the main superhero's name? What was his name?
oh, I don't. All I remember was, God, I just watched that. I swear, like 3 weeks ago, but I can't think of it.
I love he had all like the sponsorships on
The
his
endorsements. He had
uniform.
Pepsi. All of the endorsements were down the side of his uniform. I remember the first time I watched that movie, like, it was such a curveball just to have him get roasted immediately after, like, you first meet him. Find out he's a douche, and then he gets roasted.
I like the Disco Boys. His like henchmen, the Disco Boys.
Yeah, that was great. They're all with their froze. Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Well, if you can't tell, audience, you should definitely check out that movie because I think it's pretty underrated. But Phil, let's dive in here. I actually kind of have a meaty one today. So I think you've probably saw more movies than I have. So do you remember the classic 1977 movie Close Encounters of the Third Kind?
Yes, I have. The Mountain of Mashed Potatoes. That's yeah.
I'm kind of
Devil's Rock or something like that, I think.
I don't know. I need to watch it. I know it's like a Spielberg classic, and haven't ever watched it. I should. Was it good? Do you remember it being good?
Oh, it was for its. I mean, it's a classic movie. It was huge at the time. There've been a bunch of spoofs done of it. Yeah, it was huge.
Okay, so the reason I'm bringing this up is because our subject today. It's kind of a conspiracy theory within a conspiracy theory that Spielberg had inside information about what we're going to be talking about that he then based that movie on. And what we're going to be talking about today is Project Serpo and the Human Exchange Program. Now, in the movie, do you remember the humans going with the aliens somewhere?
Okay, so I remember all of the humans, like the artist chick was, so the big mountain that they were drawing is an old volcano that had all of the dirt taken away. So all that was left was the cold, like solidified magma. So it's this really weird, like spire. And they were all like either making that out of like mashed potatoes or drawing it. And then they went there, they tried to communicate with the aliens. The aliens came down, they were holding hands. I'm not sure if they actually went with them. I'd have to watch it again.
Well,
I know that they made contact.
Well, anyway, basically, it's kind of implied in the title about what Project Serpo is. Now, this is also going to be a little different than what we normally do because it's going to be more of me just telling the story, kind of like the Philadelphia experiment. Because it's either you have two options. Either you believe the story or you don't believe the story. There's no like, oh, it could be this or couldn't be that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I think we've briefly talked about this before. Do you recall anything about it?
No, you told me about it a couple weeks ago, and then I made it a point not to look up anything about it, so I'd be surprised with the audience. So,
perfect.
No, I know nothing about this. Actually, I was going to mention, you said something about Spielberg being in contact or having like some kind of knowledge of aliens. Do you remember the movie Paul?
Paul. Oh, yeah.
In that movie, Paul was basically saying that he was giving Spielberg information for his movies. Basically, E.T. with the like healing power thing.
Yeah. Okay, I see. Yeah, I see what you're saying. Spielberg did do a couple alien movies, I suppose, huh?
Yeah, he did. He was responsible for some big ones.
Well, apparently where this case starts from is in 2005, UFO discussion group leader and former government employee Victor Martinez received a series of emails from someone identified only as Anonymous. Anonymous claimed to be a retired government employee, and he or she supplied much of the information about the exchange program. So this is kind of a relatively new conspiracy theory that dates back from a long time ago. So here's where it's kind of weird, where how Spielberg, if we believe Spielberg had this as inspiration, how did he get the information, whatever, less than 30 some years after it allegedly leaked onto the internet or whatnot? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we'll start off here with the story of Project Serpo allegedly began with the famous Roswell crash on May 30th, 1947. After the crash, the U.S. government took 4 dead alien bodies to the Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, with one of the aliens still being alive. Now, with Roswell, have you ever heard, one of them was still alive, or, they recovered the bodies, or anything like that?
Yeah, I've heard, you hear there's a lot of different, versions of the story, but I have heard that they had a live specimen.
So I tried to very carefully make sure we don't go too far into Roswell, because obviously that's going to be an episode eventually. So we're just kind of skimming the surface of it here. Now, supposedly there was another crash, but wasn't discovered until 2 years after the Roswell crash. Now, supposedly what caused the first Roswell crash was the 2 UFOs hitting each other. So they recovered the first one with the one live alien, and then 2 years after the Roswell incident, they found the remains of the second crash, and then they found 6 more decomposed alien bodies, and then they were taken to the Wright-Patterson Air Force Base to be examined. Now, have you heard about the second crash?
No, I've never heard about that one.
I feel like I've heard the conspiracy theory that that's why the Roswell crash happened, is that it was 2 of them hitting each other. But a lot of these details I've never really heard before. Do you know where the Wright-Patterson Air Force Base is?
Yeah, I think it's up in either Pennsylvania or Ohio.
Okay, I should have wrote it down, but I'm pretty sure it's Ohio.
Ohio? Okay.
Yeah, I remember. It's been a long time since I've listened to anything about the Roswell incident, but I remember obviously they collected it and then they shipped a lot of stuff up to Ohio, and then apparently that's when they started doing all the weather balloon horse shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, Wright-Pat is always pretty big in any they captured a UFO and they took it to. Then they always say either Area 51 or Wright-Pat. So Wright-Pat supposedly has an underground tunnel and bunker system where they keep all this shit. So. Oh, really? Yeah, it's one of the hangars has a elevator in it supposedly, and you go down and whatever. The freak show's down there. So.
You've never been to the base though, right?
No, I've never been there. I think they actually may have changed the name. I think it might be a joint base now, but I'm not exactly sure. Joint base, Wright-Pat, and something else. So
okay. Well,
I'd have to look into it.
I'm assuming this information's taken from probably whatever the 60s or wherever this time period is, or I guess 50s. Anyway, the alien that was still alive, they named EBE-1 for extraterrestrial biological entity, and then 1 was just because he was the first one.
Military is really good at naming things. So.
Now, I'm gonna bring up the alien race known as Ebens or Ebens. Apparently, obviously, that's not their real name, but that's what the military calls them because of extraterrestrial biological entities. Does it make sense?
Yeah.
So the alien, he was attempting to communicate with humans at first, but spoke in a tonal quality that humans could not understand. And they say this was supposedly because he didn't have any vocal cords. So allegedly someone developed a device to place inside EBE-1's throat, allowing him to speak English once he learned it. And apparently he's super intelligent, so he picked it up super fast.
What they inserted in him was just Frank's hot dogs and America's apple pie. They thought that would work. That'll make him sound American.
He just had to stare at a eagle and a flag blowing in the wind for 12 hours, and he learned English.
That's how Arnold Schwarzenegger learned it. So,
so EBE1 apparently could eat breads, fruits, pastas, salads, and cheese, but he could not digest meats, and they would just make him sick. Kind of weird. I wonder why that is.
I've heard like a lot of the extraterrestrials, like the actual like living ones, not the robots. The living ones have all gone vegetarian. You actually hear a lot of like the extraterrestrials have completely killed off all the animals on their planet, not themselves.
Well, it's funny you bring that up because we're going to talk about his home planet later, and they are, I guess, technically vegetarians, so it's interesting that you brought that up. So when they did medical examinations on him, they realized he had one primary organ in his body that worked as both his lungs and heart as one organ, which I thought was kind of cool. He had a stomach and intestines, but he had no liver, pancreas, or bladder. He was 4'3" and weighed roughly 60 pounds. So he's a small son of a bitch.
Yeah, that's weird with the no bladder, no liver, no pancreas.
When I was kind of reading this stuff, because there's a site that's literally called like projectserpo.com or something that allegedly has all these declassified documents about this, and it sounded like in those that their race had evolved far enough where they like didn't need those anymore, which is kind of weird.
Like they exhale out their shit.
I don't. Maybe they just completely turned it into energy. I don't know. It's weird.
Or they have what's that? Where you basically have like the perfect system where you have like zero wasted energy.
Right.
Like
maybe
they force evolve themselves.
Yeah. Well, when we start talking about their planet and how they live, then you're kind of maybe it'll make more sense. I don't know. Anyway, he then informed his keepers at the military base that he was from a planet called Serpo that was 40 light years away in the Zeta Reticuli system. EBE-1 then took the salvaged spacecrafts from both crashes and attempted to reestablish communication with his home planet. He tried 6 times, and all 6 times he was never able to reach them. And in early 1952, EBE-1 passed away before ever being able to contact his fellow aliens. I couldn't find what he allegedly died of, but apparently he was super smart. He was helping them with technology and stuff, but he couldn't get the crashed craft's communication device to work.
Yeah, guaranteed I wouldn't let him go anywhere near that fucking thing. Like, I would be worried that he might send like a message like an SOS, like for a war party. Like, oh yeah, no. I'm going to tell him that the humans are cool. And then he's like, dude, these guys are fucking insane. These apes are trying to fucking fuck me and eat me. Get me the fuck out of here.
Like,
no, I'm saying they're cool. No, yeah.
You do not trust aliens at all.
Dude, no, I don't.
You don't trust any of them. You don't. You're very skeptical on them.
Let me tell you, I fucking not only aliens, I hate humans that are extremely fucking intelligent too. Well, I don't hate them, but I don't trust them.
Yeah.
Super intelligent and super dumb. I don't. Like keep it in the middle. Just keep it like down that center lane. You know.
Just a normie.
Yeah, just a normie, just a regular dude who goes to work, pays his taxes. You know.
That's like 95% of the population, so we're all right.
Oh yeah, probably less than that, but yeah, no, just a regular dude, you know.
So EBE-1, you wouldn't want to hang out with him.
No, not at all. Okay,
all right.
I might want to meet him and just see him and know that those things are out there, but no, I wouldn't want to, you know, unless he was like a normal dude, like Paul, you know,
yeah,
it's like a normal bro. Yeah, maybe meet him, but I don't want to meet some fucking benevolent fucking creature.
The audience should know you absolutely love the movie, Paul.
It's a great movie.
Yeah, I always remember that girl from Saturday Night Live who had like the Jesus shirt on. I can't remember what it said, but it was so fucking funny.
Yeah.
Was it like crucify this or something? I don't.
Yeah, I thought it was an abortion shirt, or a gun shirt, something like that.
It was pretty funny. I remember that. Anyway, continuing on. So, in the early 1952, the alien passed away. Oddly enough, later in the year of 1952, the U.S. military was finally able to reach the alien race that lived on Serpo, like I said, known as the Ebens. Like I said, I'm pretty sure that's the name they gave them. So communication was then exchanged between Earth and planet Serpo over the next 9 years. In between this time, the exchange program was being set up between the two races. Overall, 12 American astronauts would be selected to travel to planet Serpo, 10 men and 2 women. Now, obviously, if you're going to be traveling this fucking far, they're going to put you through an extremely vigorous training regimen. They had the exact amount of time that they allegedly had to train for this. It was a pretty long time, but that shouldn't be a surprise to anybody.
Did they say how long the trip would take?
We're going to get to that once they actually go there. So they also had strict requirements for those selected. They needed to be, this literally was quotes in there, the best of the best available. I'm sure you know where that quote comes from, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That hits your mind NASA. Instantly.
Yeah.
Well, no, Men in Black. That's the first thing I thought of.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's true. That's a good point. Yeah.
So another requirement was that they could not have a spouse or any children. So
that's a life sentence.
Basically, basically their thought process was that you will be missing for 10 years, and nobody could be concerned if you were gone. Basically, you know what I mean? Nobody could be looking for you. And allegedly, once they picked these 12 people, they destroyed all of their Social Security, IRS, birth certificate. Basically, anything that is a record of you was completely wiped out, which again, basically makes you think of Men in Black, right?
Yeah. I was thinking about that, how you said they have to be the best of the best.
Yeah.
You're thinking if you're going to bring some wild animal to your planet, you're going to want one of the nice ones, you know? You're not going to want the chimpanzee that might rip someone's face off. You're going to want the chimpanzee that, the little kids can go over, pet their heads, and feed them a peanut, you know?
Well, the weird thing is it didn't really necessarily sound like they're the nice ones, but they were, extremely specialized ones. They had, obviously, engineers, doctors, soldiers, blah, 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 blah. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, so that's what you mean. Oh,
yeah.
I get you.
They sent, I guess, what people might consider the top of the top humans in the world, I guess. I don't know. That's basically what I kind of took out of it anyway. So
did
ahead.
Brett Favre go?
He wasn't even born yet, was he?
No, he wasn't born yet.
You need to say Aaron Rodgers. Everyone puts him much higher.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
Fuck Aaron Rodgers.
Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers hopping.
Yeah. Fucking right. So the first exchange was planned for April 24th, 1964, and was to be carried out at Holloman Air Force Base. Remember, we talked about that on the Eisenhower one. Remember that?
Yeah, that's in it's Kirky.
Yeah. So we it's kind of, there's a lot of interconnecting things between these conspiracies. But anyway, during this time, the exchange was approved by President John F. Kennedy. So 2 Eben ships landed at the base with the intention of taking the astronauts with them, but this first time, for some reason, it got pushed back and got postponed. I couldn't find why. Apparently they just loaded up the dead bodies of the aliens from the crash site and then returned to Project Serpo. Not sure why it was canceled. But the Ebens returned in July of 1965, so basically a little over a year later, and then took the astronauts with them back to their home planet. And according to most reports, they left one Eben alien here to live on Earth in exchange. Now, the weird thing is that they allegedly left this alien here with, I guess, the U.S. government, but there's literally no information or no speculation about what he was doing here. Like, he was just chilling here. I don't know. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I mean, there was a pretty, like, the technological breakthroughs during that time were pretty big. So I could imagine him, like, just kind of giving him ideas.
Giving him stuff.
Writing him up blueprints. And if I was the aliens, I would just leave, like, one of the dumbest of the species on the planet. Just like...
He could have been.
Yeah.
He could have been like the Jordan Fox of the alien race. I'm just kidding. We love you, Jordan.
He's giving him information that's like such like 1,000 years, a million years behind like what they have. But like, he's like, okay, it's called a laser. And I made one in my kindergarten class. Here's how you do it. You know, like.
I was trying to think what would have been taking place in 1965. I don't know. Is there anything cool? I guess maybe he told them to. What if he told them to construct Woodstock?
Well, the first NASA mission to the moon was that, that time.
All right.
They were coming out with like bigger and better H-bombs. Computer technology took off at that time. Laser technology. There's a lot of shit.
Okay, so that makes you think then, doesn't it?
Yeah. I mean, really, the 60s and the 70s, it was post-World War II. We had a lot of money. We had a lot of Nazi scientists, bringing shit through the pipeline. So,
and the alien, don't forget about him.
And the one alien.
So, when the human astronauts made their way to planet Serpo, they took with them literally an excessive amount of supplies, food, medicine, weapons. Apparently, they took jeeps, multiple jeeps, other vehicles, and a motorcycle. They were also allowed to bring with them music. I just wrote down a few of the artists. Elvis Presley, the Beach Boys, Beatles, U.S. patriotic music, and classical music. They had, like, the list of music they were allowed to bring, and it was, like, 50 fucking artists. So, but the main thing that I wanted to list on here is the artillery that they had to bring with them. So they brought 50 military weather balloons, 24 military handguns, 24 military rifles, M16s, 2 M66 weapons, 2 M40 grenade launchers, 2 M60 motor tube rounds, 100 military air burst flares, 5,000 rounds of 223 ammunition, 500 rounds of 45 ammunition, and 60 of M40 rounds. So I don't know. Like, did they think they were going to war or what the hell?
Yeah, that might have just been... Well, I mean, what really gets me too is you said they had to bring jeeps and a motorcycle.
Yeah.
Like, the aliens have got much better shit than that. And they probably don't use fossil fuels. So what the fuck are the jeeps for? I mean... You said 10 men, 2 women. Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
Like, do they think they're going to have to shoot their way out of this planet and steal a fucking spaceship to get... That might have been it.
I should send you the link for the list of shit they brought because it's like 300 items. But I'm just like, what do you need 2 grenade launchers for?
2 grenade launchers. That's you said these people like best of the best engineer, scientists, whatever.
Yeah.
I didn't hear any fighters in there. Like,
I think there's like a high-ranking military personnel, I think, too. But it's just like, you think the aliens would be like, you don't need 2 grenade launchers to come to our planet or a jeep.
No. Oh, I was gonna say, no wonder the first round of aliens told them to get fucked. I would too. They're like, oh yeah, you mind if we bring some of our toys with us? Like, no, go to fucking hell. Like,
they probably try to bring like fighter planes and like nukes with them and everything. It's like, no, you cannot bring all this stuff to our planet. God.
They try to bring Henry Kissinger. They're like, no, get him the fuck out of here. We don't need any situations on our planet.
Anyway, they were fed the Ebens food, which they hated because they claimed it tasted like paper. Apparently, I didn't really say what they ate. They just said it tasted like paper, apparently.
Honestly, it could have been paper.
It could have been.
Just like, yeah, this is our food. They just hand him some fucking...
Just like a bowl of paper mache. They're like, yeah, we eat this shit all the time, man.
They feed them fucking lint from under their furniture. No, yeah, it's called... It's awesome. You're going to love it. Yeah, put some fucking ketchup on it. Stupid fucking ape.
So here's the answer to your question. It took them 12 months to travel the 40 light years to planet Serpo. Now, apparently their ship was so fast because they had harnessed the energy of antimatter. So that's how they could move so fast, I guess.
Yeah, that's how... this is my second Star Trek reference in 2 weeks, but that's how Star Trek, like, spaceships work. They use antimatter.
Well, I remember seeing, it was on History Channel probably, where it was like 2 grains of sand of like, or a grain of antimatter hitting matter creates like an explosion that could like blow up Texas, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Like,
I mean, there's a lot of energy in it.
Yeah.
If you can harness that, yeah. I mean,
yeah, I know they're like trying to mess with it. I've seen the little, where they create that giant like tube underground. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's either dark matter or antimatter is like by the ounce is the most expensive material like we have. Like if you have like an ounce of antimatter and you could sell it, you would have all the money in the world basically. Like
seems dangerous to be playing with that stuff.
Yeah, I mean there's not a lot of it obviously.
No.
But.
So, continuing on here, when they reach planet Serpo, apparently the aliens just greeted them with open arms. You know, they were happy that they were there. They were excited to see humans. Now, the aliens, like most of them still had that weird voice thing, like they couldn't talk to them. But there was one female alien who learned to speak English, and she would be like the translator between them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, like, if we think back to EBE-1, he needed a special device to speak like humans do. So how the hell is she learning English?
Well, I'm guessing that, you know, one of those dudes probably maybe hit her up, you know, showed her some of the toys and the ammunition, so...
He's like, you ever seen any grenade launchers, baby?
I got a grenade launcher for you. I'm sure whoever made up this story... I'm willing to bet that he wrote in that she had like just gigantic fucking tits, you know, like just a nice ass on her. Like,
so wait, you're already assuming this is fake?
No, of course not. Not at all. Not even a little. I'll never assume that some fat, lonely guy in his mom's basement is writing all this shit. No, I'm not doing that. But
so anyway, a little bit about Planet Serpo. Apparently it had 2 suns. So basically, it had a constant high temperature. One thing I read was about 107 degrees. That was like average temp. And obviously, being humans, they said they were constantly uncomfortable because of the heat. Because basically, the fucking sun never went down. Now, they were supposed to stay on Serpo for 10 years, right? But they ended up staying for 13 years because of the cycle of the 2 suns. 1 day cycle on Serpo was 40 hours, as opposed to Earth, that's 24 hours, right?
Yeah.
So it was, a lot of them said that it was just extremely hard to keep track of time. Obviously, they had all the weaponry and stuff, but for some reason, they decided not to bring a watch or anything. A clock of any sort. That's literally what it said. They decided, we need grenade launchers, but a clock? Forget that, dude.
Well, if the, how does that work? I know clocks work differently in space. And if you're moving at light speed, like they were, the clock would get fucked up anyway. So.
Yeah, that's true. Well, apparently, we're going to learn about the evens and stuff, but it sounded like they just didn't really pay attention to time. Like, they just didn't, they would just, like, it sounded like they just didn't have a fucking clock or anything, you know what I mean?
Yeah, they probably got over their fucking capitalist slave system and no longer have fucking waged labor and shit like that.
Well, Phil,
nice little utopia.
I can tell you what, Phil, you're hitting shit on the head right now. So, during their stay on Serpo, the Americans learned what they could about the history of the Ebens. The population of Serpo at this time of their visit was roughly 650,000 Ebens. It was just Ebens. they had no other intelligent species, kind of like, I guess, Earth is... Wouldn't you say Earth, humans are the intelligent species, and then the rest is animals?
I don't know if we're smarter than dolphins, but we'll find out eventually.
Well, you get what I'm saying. Like, I get you. The Serpo...
How many... Did you say 650,000 or million?
1,000.
Oh, there's only 650,000.
Right.
That's weird because it's considered like the perfect population of humans on Earth is actually 500,000.
Really?
Yeah, like not a lot.
Yeah.
Like a perfect number for equilibrium with the planet would be like 500 grand. So it's kind of weird that number is like, it sounds really low, but like, they don't breed like fucking mice. So,
well, we're gonna find out why they might have that small of a population once I get through kind of the information here. The astronauts learned about the Ebens' religious beliefs and technology. It seemed like they lived fairly primitively for the culture, but they had advanced technology. Basically, what they're saying is, like, they had kind of like tribes, like it was like a tribal system. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't just like a big, massive
one world
city.
Government.
Yeah. So they kind of had like a tribal society. Now, like you were making fun of them before, they didn't have fucking jeeps or whatever. They used anti-gravity vehicles to kind of like hover around. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So why they need... I could only imagine they'd be pretty pumped up about seeing a Jeep or a motorcycle. I don't know.
That's what I was kind of thinking, like when you said they brought all the like they brought all the like weapons and the vehicles. I could see like the Ebens just immediately confiscating that shit and then putting it in a museum.
Yeah. Kind of like Demolition Man.
Yeah. Well, like exactly like Demolition Man. Like the what was it, like the Wing of War or whatever?
Yeah.
The museum exhibit with all the war.
Yeah, I think it was the Hall of Violence or something.
Hall of Violence, yeah, exactly.
God, that's a good movie.
That was a great movie.
Anyway, now what I'm about to read kind of reminds me of communism a little bit, but apparently the Ebens would work regular shifts, but all of their jobs were assigned to them. Now, but it seemed like they were all happy about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it didn't, from what the humans would later say about them, it wasn't like a miserable job like we have sometimes.
Do you remember the book, The Giver?
I do not, no.
We read it in school. Kind of sounds like that a little bit. They were all assigned their jobs.
Okay. Well, yeah. So about the food, apparently they only grew artificial food. And they would never eat any of the animal life on the planet. So that kind of goes back to when we said EBE1 wouldn't eat meat. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Apparently they just didn't waste natural resources or something, and they just grew their own food. So, kind of weird. Now,
a planet full of super woke fucking hipsters. I actually don't eat meat or gluten.
A lot of avocado toast going on in Planet Serpo.
All I eat is hibiscus tea and avocado toast.
So the Ebens had a military force, but were considered peaceful, and they never saw any of them carrying weapons around at all. Like, nobody had weapons. Like, the military was kind of just like a contingency thing, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now, with the government, like I said, they would have their little tribal pockets, and they would have like an elder who would kind of resolve the problems within the tribe or whatever. But they did have a government, like a top-level government as well, that if there was like a really big pressing issue, then like the overarching government would decide how to fix the problems. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I get it. I get that. There's some countries that are kind of like that. Afghanistan's kind of like that.
Oh, really?
Supposedly, yeah. I don't know. I'm firsthand, but I know that there's like a tribal system in place, and then like if there's wars between the tribes, then the government might step in, or they might just back off because a lot of times some of those tribes are more powerful than
the government.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, here's another peculiar thing, is that the Ebens had no sort of currency, and they used no sort of money at all. Basically, they just used like a, if you needed something, you just went and got it, I guess. They kind of made it sound like a distribution system, kind of. So, obviously that won't work with humans, but maybe
no,
for them.
There's too many of us. There's like if you live in a system where it's like there's 650,000 of you on the whole planet, you're going to have plenty of everything. So there's really not any point in having money. There's only 650,000 of you. Then basically it's not like there's any need for anything. So why would you need exactly with the violence stuff too? There's no like need to steal anything. There's no need to do any of this stuff because no one's like at personal war with each other. So I can understand that part.
Yeah. I mean, it'd be kind of nice if humans weren't greedy and shit, but yeah, I get what you're saying. Now,
if there was only 500,000 of us on the planet,
I still don't think it would work. I think people imagine if you had like enough land for like yourself that was like the size of a county. Like, I think it'd be fine. Maybe. So they said the Ebens enjoyed team games, which I assume was probably like football or basketball or whatever. They didn't really say what they played. And they knew what music was, and they had their own versions of music. Didn't really know what it sounded like, but...
Dude, it sounds like L. Ron Hubbard fucking wrote this shit.
If someone did make this up, they're extremely original, aren't they?
Yeah, no, it's just weird because it's like, oh yeah, they were peaceful. No one carried guns. They had jobs, but they were given jobs. And they loved to play team games. You know what I mean? It's just like, who the fuck wrote this? But of course it's all true and, whatever. Go for it.
This is all facts, Phil.
All facts.
Now, a few final things. Planet Serpo was not their original home planet. They lived on a different planet. They didn't really say what it was, but the planet became so unstable because of volcanoes. They had to leave, but they had already mastered space travel, so they were able to relocate to planet Serpo. Now, why a lot of people think, or why the humans thought their population was so low, was because a long time ago they had waged war with another alien species, and it had managed to win the war, but they suffered like huge casualties. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So apparently even say, I guess you'll probably like this, that the alien races, there's some that are malicious and there's some that are peaceful. And these just happen to be a peaceful one.
So basically they had a military just in case the bad guys come back.
Right. But it sounded like they wiped out whoever they were warring with or whatever, but they think that's why maybe their population was so low, is because so many of them died.
Okay. Did it say if they were a multi-planet species, or are they just on...
It sounded like they were just
planet?
here. It sounded like they were just here, but I don't really know for sure.
It kind of sounds like they're hiding out. Like...
They could be.
Like, almost like their entire species was nearly wiped out, so that's just like a splinter group. Like,
yeah. Well, that could...
Like when you're,
I was just say that could also explain why... If they were at war for so long, maybe that's why they're such a peaceful race now, because of they see the repercussions of it.
Yeah, you'd think if they were such a peaceful race, though, they would just leave the apes alone, They would come here, see, like, all of our shit and be like, no, we'll be fine. If we see you guys coming near us, we'll just blow you out of the fucking sky. But
well, technically, they didn't want to interact with humans, if we believe the story, because they crashed.
Yeah, but then why did they come back the second time after picking up their dead bodies?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe they thought humans were peaceful. I don't really know. But
there's no mistaking humans for peaceful. There's none. They would have seen all of the nuclear fucking tests that were going on at the time that they landed. So no way.
Maybe they were just Steelers fans.
Could have been. What was the Super Bowl hadn't started, but they had they had like the National Football. Like,
well, around 65, yeah, that was getting close to the like height of the Iron Curtain, the Steel Curtain. Sorry,
the Steel Curtain was in the 70s, wasn't it?
Very early, super early in the 70s.
Fucking Terry Bradshaw.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's who Iowa Hawkeyes uniforms are made after. The 70s.
Oh.
70s Steelers. Yeah.
Cool. That's cool.
Good old Hayden Fry.
All right, now we're going to talk a little bit about the humans. For some reason, like, there's not that much information about the humans and, like, what they were doing here. They just kind of relayed about the aliens. So the humans, they lived there 3 years into their trip. Two of the 12 would die from radiation poisoning. They made it sound like planet Serpo overall had, like, radiation on the surface, which I feel like when we've talked about aliens, there's always radiation involved. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So the other thing was they were supposed to keep in constant communication with the U.S. government, and they did for quite a while, but then after 5 years, all communication was cut off, and they had no idea what these people were up to. So they were kind of just like, they didn't know if they're dead or anything like that. So about halfway into their trip, the Americans moved to the northern part of the planet where it was cooler, and they were able to grow their own food that they were used to eating. You know what I mean?
This sounds like the most plausible part of the fucking story. So they basically, the 10 that were still living told the home base, like, God, quit fucking bothering us. And we're going to move where it's nicer. Right. We're going to grow our own fucking food.
Right.
Like, this is the most plausible part of the story so far.
Well, apparently they had brought enough food to live off of for 2 years, and then were forced to eat the even food, but obviously they hated it because it tasted like fucking paper.
Probably lasted about 2 weeks.
Yeah. They said, like, much like EBE-1 got sick from our food, apparently the humans would get sick with the Eben's food. Like, it would give them, like, stomach problems, apparently. So that's kind of why they needed to grow their own vegetables there.
I imagine, because you said earlier on in the story that Ebens and humans have, like, completely different digestive systems.
Yeah.
Right? So it sounds like anything that, like, they could digest, our bodies probably just, wouldn't even touch it. Like, imagine, like, a human trying to eat hay and live off of that. Like, probably the same thing. It's just crap.
Here's the other thing that, like, all their food is apparently artificially made, so maybe it's something in there that makes them sick too. I don't know. Anyway, let's get to bringing them home. When it was finally time, when it reached that 13-year mark or whatever, and it was time for them to finally come back home, 2 of the Americans decided that they actually had grown so accustomed to Serpo that they decided to stay. No, we don't know what they were doing there. Maybe they fell in love with an alien. I don't know, but they decided to stay.
The English-speaking one with big tits. I imagine
it was probably her.
Yeah.
So the others would finally return home in 1978, and then once they got back, they were put into quarantine for an entire year, and then they had to be debriefed that entire time. Now, because remember we mentioned the radiation before. Apparently, the survivors had to suffer from radiation-related illnesses for the rest of their lives from being exposed to light radiation for so long. I'm not entirely sure what that includes. I thought you basically get cancer from radiation, but whatever. Now, the debriefing, allegedly, because it was an entire year, they generated a 3,000-page report talking about all of their travels to Serpo and their experiences and all of that. Now, the last few things here was basically they believed that a lot of the information was lost because when they were communicating from Earth back to, or no, how did they say it? Basically, when they were doing the debriefing, got this big 3,000-page report, that a lot of the information didn't really make sense because they didn't understand the Eben's language, and they weren't allowed to bring any of the Eben technology back with them. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I can understand that.
So it was really hard for them to kind of like explain what happened because they couldn't speak their language, more or less. So
I gotta ask about the Eben that they left behind. Was he like chomping at the bit to get back on that fucking space station?
They don't even bring him up again. They
don't even bring him up?
Don't even bring him up again.
That's like basically fucking bringing out a gun and then never shooting anything. I mean, in a story, you know.
Yeah.
But what would I gotta ask you something quick? I had this thought. 13 years on a foreign planet, 1 year in isolation. What's the first thing you do when you get out of that fucking 14 years? What's it gonna be? First night out. Back out on the streets.
Oh, I'm gonna tell you what. I'm buying a pack of cigarettes. I'm getting blasted. Well, actually, I probably will eat a lot of food first, and then probably a nice restaurant, get wasted, and smoke cigarettes all night. And hopefully,
guaranteed. Like in my contract, it'd have to say that after I got back, I would get like 20 mil or some number.
Yeah,
like 20 mil back in the 70s was huge.
Right.
Like, that's like Rockefeller money back then. Like, and I would go to the strip club. I'd be just throwing hundreds, like just angrily throwing balls of $100 bills. Like,
I don't know what they would have. That's a rough one. Like, how the hell would you even adapt again coming back to our planet?
Yeah, I would buy a fucking like one of those LP tanks that out by like the farmhouses. That thing would be full of Jack Daniels and Coke, and I would just fucking sit there drinking it. Fucking just stewing about how pissed off I am.
So, the last thing here, little was known about the surviving members when they returned to Earth. Allegedly, the last surviving member died in 2002. There hasn't been any more communication with the Evans on Serpo since 1985, and the 2 Americans who decided to stay there, they're rogue, and nobody knows what they're doing. They could be alive, they could be dead, they don't know. And that's basically the entire story there of the Americans, or I guess the human exchange program with the aliens from Project Serpo. So I know you've kind of made fun of it in between our journey here through the story, but
little bit.
What are your final thoughts, Phil? Is this even remotely possible? Are you giving it the Neil deGrasse Tyson 50-50?
Well, I like to give everything the Neil deGrasse Tyson 50-50, but I'm going to give it my the normal 99% probably not true, and then I'll give it the 1% true. But I mean, it's really, if you think about it, it'd make a good movie. That's like what a lot of, you hear a lot of these stories, like the conspiracies or the alien, especially the alien ones, but they always seem to like, it would make a really good movie. That's what I keep thinking. Well, we ended up going for 10 years, but we couldn't figure out the time, so it was a little longer, like little twists and turns in there.
Well, I mean, technically you have, allegedly, the Spielberg movie, Close Encounters of the Third Kind. You have Interstellar that deals with time like that. You could, I don't know if you want to put the Matt Damon Martian movie in there.
Oh yeah, no, I don't think that's quite the. What was that? What was that movie with? God, what the fuck's her Contact? You ever see the movie Contact?
Yeah.
Where in the time it took to have like that spinning ball go from like levitating to falling to the earth, she had traveled like across the galaxy and back again. Like,
weren't they trying to imply that she shows up on the beach with that alien, right? Or they don't know what the hell he is?
It takes the form of her dad.
Yeah, and then how much time passes when she returns?
Well, so in the humans, the people watching it, see her fall for like 3 seconds. But then the recorder inside had recorded 18 hours of static. That was kind of the little thing at the end.
Yes,
where it was the ooh moment.
Yeah, I remember that. Because that's a Jodie Foster McConaughey joint, right?
Yeah.
It's a good movie, actually. I kind of like it. But yeah, it's trippy as fuck.
Well, what's that? Do you remember? Well, obviously you remember what his name is, or who he is. Starship Troopers, the guy who was in basic training. It's that one like alcoholic drug dude, the actor's son. Do you remember that?
Robert Downey Jr.'s son?
No, he was also in The Frightener.
Oh yeah, the blonde guy. Yeah.
He was in that movie. He was the crazy dude who sabotaged the whole thing. That was great.
Yeah. That guy, every role he's in, he just plays either a fucking asshole or the bad guy.
Yeah, he's got the face for it. I think that's what it is.
That's true. Wait, whose son is he?
Not Belushi. He's the guy with the wild hair. He's I thought that was his dad, but maybe it's not.
I have no idea.
I'll have to look it up. But
okay, so
yeah, getting back to the fucking story here. I think it's really good. There are some weird things. You said that like the alien planet had a lot of radiation on it. The thing that filters out radiation in humans is like our liver, kidneys, like all of those pancreas, all those mainline like waste extraction organs.
Yeah, your thyroids too.
If they don't have it, that's weird. That because a lot of stuff that like cleans our blood, they don't have. So either their blood is different from ours, or the radiation has just completely fucking destroyed all the need for that. So.
That's a good point, actually. I didn't even think of any of that. I like that, though. So
no, it's just little things that I picked up reading it.
Okay.
Like little things that just didn't make sense. But
so you're rating this at about a 1% chance it's true. I'll give my opinion. I probably with you there where I don't really necessarily put much credence that this actually has happened. I will say this, though. If I kind of believe Roswell happened and that was an alien ship, but I could see it more plausible if we believe Roswell happened that they could have kept one alien alive, but I just don't know if this rest of the story happened. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I can see. I mean, I've said it before. But I don't think that aliens actually like come here and like visit humans and all that stuff. But I can see like an exploratory type situation where two vessels would crash into each other. Yeah. I can see that. If they were in the neighborhood, they just wanted to go see the,
Yeah, see the.
I can see something like that.
See the primitive apes on their planet.
Yeah, go down to the zoo and take a look at them. But it is kind of weird that, like, you said these aliens had guns, but though humans never saw them with their guns, you would think that if these aliens had a potentially hostile race with all of that ammunition, you would think that all they would ever see are people with guns.
That's the other thing. We don't know what they made them do. If they arrived with all this artillery and shit, we don't know what they made the humans do if they let them take it with them. It doesn't even say what they... It doesn't even sound like there's any violence or anything. It was just they're hanging out.
Yeah. They were just bored. They had to have been bored as fuck. God, I couldn't even fucking imagine. Oh, you said they only brought, like, songs from like 50 artists with them and mostly patriotic music.
Yeah.
Could you imagine listening to the same shit for 13 fucking years? Listening to the same Elvis song, just Blue Suede Shoes every fucking day. Like
maybe they got involved with the team sports.
they played they played Amish volleyball. Or who plays Amish play volleyball. They played the fucking Amish game of volleyball. And then 8 fucking paper chips. Yeah, that sounds like a fucking ball.
What if the Evens had like, so they're a really peaceful race, but like they said gladiator arenas and stuff, like super violent sports.
Oh, that'd be awesome. Now that would add some fucking flavor to the story. If they had a fucking arena, like a death pit. Like the reason why there's only 650,000 of them is because they peel off like 2,000 a year. They have to just
keep fighting.
Yeah, and it's a huge like city-sized arena, and that's why the aliens told them to bring the ammunition because like you're gonna have to fight your way through this shit, You know
what? The other thing I just thought of, like, they didn't mention any of the aliens' like reproductive organs or anything like that. So what if their race had to be like they didn't breed like humans do? They had to be like artificially created, or like they've gotten to that point.
That's kind of like in most alien conspiracies is they have reproductive problems. You ever hear that? Like,
yeah, I've heard that.
You always hear like people getting their junk messed with when they get abducted by aliens because the aliens no longer like have the ability. It could be all the radiation too. Could have fried their balls off.
Fried their genitals.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, guys, Phil, why don't you inform everybody if they want to give us our opinion, how can they do that?
Well, we got the Instagram, which is actually like blowing up. We're almost at 400 followers, so pretty good for only starting like a month ago. So we got, or 2 or 3 months ago. Subliminal Deception Podcast is on Instagram. That is just the easiest way to get a hold of us. We also have a Gmail that you can get a hold of. We don't really get a lot of Gmail traffic, but subliminaldpodcast@gmail.com.
Yep, hit that up if you feel like I think email's better if you're the type that has like a longer message. You know what I mean? Instagram's good for like just you want to just say something or whatever.
Let me say, we would love if you had some like you wanted to type out, like we'd love to get that too. So we love hearing from fans. So,
oh, absolutely. Now
which that's gotten a lot bigger too in the last few weeks. So thank you everybody for that.
Hell yeah, I know. When we see the downloads go up and all of that, all the support, it's an amazing feeling. So you can
wait, hold on one
Go
second.
ahead.
I wanted to shout out somebody, and I just wanted to give a special like, hey, thanks for getting a hold of us. Brand new podcast out there. They're out in the UK. Critical Banter. Go ahead and find them on Instagram, and they're actually listen to them. They sound really good for being a brand new podcast. So really good audio quality and good topics. So yeah, Cody, how can they actually help out our podcast?
Well, final thing before we get to that, if anybody would like, you can follow Bumblebutt Podcast on Instagram, where I just started my own personal one. You can follow Cody Zebub, which is Cody Zebub on Instagram. You can find me and talk to me personally if you like. The other thing that we need everybody to do if they can is to take a few seconds, go on Apple Podcasts, log in, find our show, click the 5-star button, write a stupid little note, and then hit submit. It's that simple. I know it's a pain in the ass, but it really helps the show grow, and we would be eternally grateful if you could do that. Now, I hope everybody enjoyed the show this week. I thought, while it sounds a little fantastical, it is kind of a fun journey to take, and it's fun to kind of think about aliens, I think, a little bit. But we will see you guys next week.
Yeah, it was great, fun dissecting it. But thanks, guys. Have a good one.